The year was 2387 when everything changed for humanity. In the big meeting hall on Centauri Prime, 12 different alien species sat around a huge table. They were all part of something called the Galactic Council. These aliens had been working together for thousands of years, making rules for the whole galaxy. Ambassador Zethkara stood up from his seat. He was from a race called the Vorthan Empire. His skin looked like crystal, and when the blue lights in the room hit him, he sparkled like a diamond. But his face was not friendly. He looked angry and worried. "We need to talk about the humans," he said in a loud voice. All the other aliens turned to look at him. "They are causing too many problems. They build colonies too fast. They make too many weapons. They ask too many questions." At a small table near the front, 2 humans sat quietly. Admiral Jake Morrison was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 40 years flying spaceships for Earth. Next to him sat Dr. Lisa Wang, a smart woman who spoke for all humans in the galaxy. They had come here thinking they would have a normal meeting. They did not know they were on trial. Dr. Wang stood up slowly. "We have followed all the rules," she said in a calm voice. "Our colonies are where you told us they could be. We have shared our medicine with everyone. We have helped fight pirates and criminals." But the aliens did not want to listen. A being made of pure light floated above the table. It was from the Ethereal Collective, a race so old that nobody remembered when they first came to space. The light pulsed red with anger. "Your people are too young," the light being said. "You have only been in space for 200 years. We have been here for 10,000 years. You do not understand how dangerous the galaxy can be." Another alien spoke up. This one looked like a giant lizard with wings. "Humans fight too much," he said. "Every time there is trouble, humans send warships. Every time there is a problem, humans want to solve it with weapons." Admiral Morrison felt his face get hot with anger, but he stayed quiet. He remembered all the times human ships had saved alien colonies from pirates. He remembered all the times human doctors had helped cure alien diseases. But he could see that these aliens had already made up their minds. Dr. Wang tried again. "We want to work together," she said. "Humans have always believed that we are stronger when we help each other. We can learn from you, and maybe you can. Learn from us, too." The crystal alien laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Learn from you? You have been in space for such a short time. What could you possibly teach us?" One by one, the aliens voted. The Draconian Hegemony voted to kick humans out. The Stellar Confederation voted to kick humans out. The Ethereal Collective voted to kick humans out. It went on and on. Only one alien species voted to keep humans in the council. The Kepler Alliance had been friends with humans for many years, and they tried to help. But it was not enough. The vote was 11-1. Humans were no longer welcome in the Galactic Council. "You have 30 days to remove all human ships from council space," Zethkara said. "You may keep your colonies in the outer rim, but you cannot expand anymore. You cannot use our trade routes. You cannot buy our technology." Dr. Wang felt like someone had hit her in the stomach. "This is not fair," she said. "We have done nothing wrong." "You exist," a light being said coldly. "That is enough." Far away from Centauri Prime, Captain Ben Harper was exploring a new star system. His ship was called the New Horizon, and it was full of humans and aliens working together. They were mapping planets and looking for new minerals. It was peaceful work, and Ben liked it. His communication officer, a young woman named Kelly Rogers, suddenly looked worried. "Captain," she said, "we're getting an emergency message from Earth." Ben walked over to her station. "Put it on the main screen," he said. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on the screen. He looked older than Ben remembered, and very sad. "All human ships, this is Fleet Command," he said. The Galactic Council has voted to expel humanity from the Alliance. We have 30 days to leave Council space. The bridge of the New Horizon went completely quiet. Ben's chief engineer, Maya Rodriguez, dropped the tool she was holding. His navigator, Alex Carter, stared at the screen with his mouth open. "This can't be real," Maya said quietly. "We've been working with them for 30 years. Alex pulled up a map of the galaxy on his computer. "Look at this," he said. "The Outer Rim territories are still ours. But that's only about 10% of our current space." An alien crew member, a friendly creature named Thipilon from the Kepler Alliance, shook his feathered head sadly. "My people tried to stop this," he said. "But we were the only ones who voted to keep humans in the Council." Ben felt angry and confused. Why would they do this? "What did we do wrong?" "Nothing," Thipilon said. "That's the problem. You did nothing wrong, but you also did everything different. You build cities on planets that other races think are too dangerous. You make friends with species that others are afraid of. You ask questions that make people uncomfortable." Maya slammed her fist on her console. "So they're punishing us for being different?" "They're punishing you for being successful," Thipilon said quietly. "In 30 years, humans have built more colonies than some races built in 300 years. Your technology is getting better faster than anyone expected. Some of the older races are scared." Captain Ben made a decision. He pressed a button to send a message to all human ships in the area. "This is Captain Harper of the New Horizon," he said. "I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know one thing. We're not going to give up. If they don't want us in, their council will build our own." Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison was making a speech to the human government. "They think they can push us into a corner and forget about us," he said. "They think we'll just disappear and stop being a problem. But they're wrong. Humans have always been at their best when everything seems impossible." Dr. Wong was already making plans. "We need to focus on the Outer Rim territories," she said. "We need to build new trade routes with the independent systems. We need to make our colonies stronger and more self-sufficient." A young officer named Scott Davis raised his hand. "Admiral, what about our alien friends, the ones who want to stay with us?" Admiral Morrison smiled for the first time in days. "Any alien who wants to live in human space is welcome," he said. "We'll show the Council what real cooperation looks like." As the 30 days passed, human ships began moving toward the Outer Rim. Some aliens came with them. Thipilon left his comfortable job on a Council ship to work with Maya Rodriguez on new engine designs. Dr. Kethara, a brilliant scientist from the Kepler Alliance, joined Dr. Wang's diplomatic team. On the last day, Admiral Morrison sent one final message to the Galactic Council. "You wanted us gone," he said. "Fine, we're leaving. But don't think this is the end of the story. Humans have always been good at making something out of nothing. You might be surprised what we can build out here in the dark." The communication ended, and humanity began its journey into exile. They had been pushed away from the center of galactic civilization, but they were not broken. They were angry, determined, and ready to prove that the Council had made the biggest mistake in galactic history. 25 years had passed since the Galactic Council threw humanity out of their alliance. The Outer Rim territories, once considered worthless space, had become the heart of a new human civilization. Where the Council saw empty darkness, humans saw opportunity. On the industrial world of New Montana, Dr. Kevin Brooks stood in his laboratory looking at a machine that would change everything. A quantum tunnel drive was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. While other races used old hyperdrive technology that bent space slowly, Kevin's invention created instant doorways across the stars. "Show me the test results again," said Colonial Administrator Helen Torres as she walked into the lab. Helen ran the entire New Montana colony, and she needed to understand this new technology. Kevin pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the air. The quantum tunnel drive doesn't just bend space like council ships do, he explained. It creates a temporary wormhole. A ship can travel from here to the next star system in just a few minutes instead of several days. Helen whistled softly. The council ships still take a week to make that same trip. This could change everything. It already has, Kevin said with a smile. Captain Sophie Miller tested it last month on her merchant ship. She made a round trip to 3 different systems in the time it used to take to reach just one. Meanwhile, on the farming world of New Georgia, Peter Davis was working in fields that shouldn't have been able to grow anything. The planet's soil was too acidic, and the weather was too harsh for most crops. But Peter and other human farmers had found a way. The trick is not fighting the planet, Peter explained to a group of new colonists. We modified our earth plants to work with the local conditions instead of trying to change the planet to work with our plants. The results were amazing. New Georgia now produced more food than 3 normal Earth-type planets. The modified wheat grew twice as tall and had twice as many nutrients. The vegetables were bigger and stayed fresh longer. Other colonies in human space never had to worry about food shortages. Captain Sophie Miller had become famous throughout the Outer Rim. Her merchant ship, the Frontier's Edge, was one of the fastest vessels in known space. She carried goods between human colonies and even dared to trade with aliens in neutral space. The Council had banned official trade with humans, but many alien merchants were willing to break that rule for the right price. At the space station called Crossroads, Sophie met with her old friend Thipolon. A feathered alien had given up his comfortable life in council space to help humanity. Now he ran his own trading business. The Council is making a big mistake, Thipolon said as they sat in the station's cantina. They won't admit it, but human goods are becoming very popular. In council space, your food lasts longer than anything we can grow. Your tools work better and break less often. Sophie nodded. I heard that some council worlds are buying our medical supplies through third parties. They don't want to admit they need human help. But people are getting sick, and our medicines work better. It's worse than that, Thipolon said quietly. The Council has banned any mention of human achievements from their official records. They're trying to pretend you don't exist. But traders like us know the truth. Humanity is thriving out here. On the mining world of New Alaska, Foreman Tony Mitchell was discovering materials that made Council scientists jealous. The planet's harsh conditions had created unique mineral formations. Tony's mining teams had found metals that were stronger and lighter than anything previously known. This stuff is incredible, Tony told his assistant manager, Carol Roberts, as they looked at the latest samples. It's 3 times stronger than titanium, but weighs half as much. Our shipbuilders are going crazy for it. The new materials were being used to build a new class of human warships. On the military shipyard of New Texas, General Rob Sullivan watched as the first Eclipse-class destroyer took shape. These ships were smaller than Council dreadnoughts, but used advanced technology that made them much more effective. We're not trying to build bigger guns, General Sullivan explained to his staff officers. We're building smarter ships. The Eclipse class can hide from enemy sensors and adapt its weapons during battle. Commander Lisa Park, the chief engineer on the project, showed the general how the new stealth systems worked. The ship's hull is made from new Alaska metals mixed with energy-absorbing compounds, she said. It can become almost invisible to most sensor types. But the real breakthrough was happening on New Horizon, humanity's new capital. The orbital city floated in space around an artificial gravity generator invented by Dr. Grace Chun. No other race in the galaxy had been able to create artificial gravity on such a large scale. The gravity well generator doesn't just hold the city together. Dr. Chun explained to a group of visiting scientists from other human colonies. It creates a stable platform for our most advanced research. We can do experiments here that would be impossible on a planet's surface. New Horizon had become a symbol of human achievement. The city housed over 2 million people and was completely self-sufficient. It had its own farms, factories, schools, and research centers. Visitors from other races often came just to see what humans had built in their Exile. Dr. Amy Foster ran the medical research division on New Horizon. Her team had made discoveries that extended human lifespan and improved physical abilities. "We've learned to repair genetic damage and boost immune systems," she told her research team. "The average human now lives 30 years longer than before." We left council space. The improvements weren't just medical. Humans were becoming faster, stronger, and smarter. Some people worried about changing too much, but Dr. Foster believed it was necessary. "We're not trying to become something else," she said. "We're trying to become the best version of ourselves." Colonel Mark Johnson commanded the military forces protecting New Horizon. His soldiers used advanced armor and weapons that made them more effective than much larger armies. "Quality over quantity," he always said. "One well-trained human soldier with good equipment is worth 10 poorly equipped enemies." Back on Earth, now the government center for all human colonies, President Nancy Brown was meeting with her advisors. The news from the Outer Rim was all good, but she knew the real test was still coming. "We've proven we can survive without the Council," she told her cabinet. "We've built better technology and stronger colonies. But they still don't take us seriously. They think we're just lucky barbarians playing with toys we don't understand." Secretary of Defense Paul Williams had different concerns. "Our intelligence. Reports show that some council races are getting nervous about our success," he said. "They're starting to realize that kicking us out might have been a mistake." "Let them be nervous," President Brown replied. "We offered them partnership and cooperation. They chose isolation and arrogance. Now they get to watch us succeed without them." On the research station orbiting New Mars, scientists were working on projects that would have amazed Council researchers. Dr. Janet Lee had developed new ways to terraform planets in just a few years instead of centuries. Dr. Chris Murphy had created artificial intelligence systems that could think and learn like humans. "The Council always said we were too young and reckless to handle advanced technology," Dr. Lee told her research team. "But look what we've accomplished. We've solved problems in 25 years that they couldn't solve in 1,000. Captain Ben Harper, now an admiral commanding the exploration fleet, was discovering new star systems every month. His ships had found dozens of habitable planets and made contact with several new alien species. Unlike the Council, humans welcomed these new races as equals and partners. The galaxy is much bigger and more diverse than the Council wants to admit," Admiral Harper told his captains during a strategy meeting. "There are hundreds of species out here that the Council has never even met. Some of them have been waiting centuries for someone to treat them with respect." The truth was becoming clear to everyone in human space. The Exile had not weakened humanity. It had made them stronger, smarter, and more united than ever before. They had taken the Council's rejection and turned it into the greatest opportunity in human history. But none of them knew that soon the Council would face a threat so terrible that they would have no choice but to come begging for the help of the people they had pushed away. The first sign of trouble came from the edge of known space, far beyond even human territory. Council scout ships that had been exploring the Outer Veil region simply vanished without sending any distress signals. At first, the Galactic Council thought it was just equipment failure or accidents. Space exploration was always dangerous. But then the refugees started arriving. Ambassador Veltar of the Shimmering Republic burst into the council chambers on Centauri Prime. Her normally calm blue skin was flickering with panic colors, and her voice shook with fear. The other council members had never seen her like this. "Emergency session," she gasped as she ran to the center of the chamber. "We have a crisis beyond anything we have ever faced." The ancient crystal being who led the council meeting slowly turned his attention to her. "Ambassador Veltar, what could possibly justify this interruption?" "The Devourers have returned," she said, using an old word that made every alien in the room go completely silent about High Commander Zaroth of the Draconian. Hegemony stood up quickly. His large reptilian form towered over the other delegates. "That's impossible," he said. "The Devourers are just old stories. Legends to scare children." "I wish that were true," Veltar said. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. 3 days ago, the Kethmori system had 6 planets and 12 billion people. Now there is nothing but empty space. The hologram showed a star system that looked completely normal, then switched to recent images of the same location. Where planets and space stations should have been, there was only darkness and scattered debris. "The entire system was consumed in less than 6 hours," Veltar continued. "Everything. The planets, the moons, the space stations, even the asteroids. All of it converted into raw materials for their fleet." Dr. Nexara, the Council's chief scientist, was studying the images with growing horror. "This is impossible," she whispered. "You can't just make matter disappear like this." "They didn't make it disappear," Veltar said grimly. "They converted. It turned solid matter directly into energy, then used that energy to build more ships. The enemy fleet that attacked Kethmori was twice as large when it left as when it arrived." The chamber erupted in frightened voices as the council members tried to understand what they were seeing. The crystal being who led the meeting struck, his staff against the floor to restore order. "Who are these Devourers?" he asked. "Where did they come from?" Fleet Admiral Quindle of the Stellar Confederation had been reviewing intelligence reports on his datapad. "Our historical records mention them briefly," he said. "Ancient texts speak of mechanical beings from outside our galaxy. They were supposed to consume everything in their path to fuel their expansion." "Those were myths," protested the representative from the ethereal collective. "Stories told by primitive races who didn't understand natural phenomena." "The Vorth Aki system was attacked yesterday," Veltar said quietly. 4 billion people, gone in 8 hours. The pattern is always the same. A fleet of black ships appears, strips the system of all matter, then moves on to the next target. High Commander Zaroth was already making plans. "We need to mobilize the Council Defense Fleet immediately. Every available warship should be sent to establish a defensive perimeter." But Dr. Nexara was shaking her head as she studied the tactical data. "Our weapons won't work against them," she said. "Look at these battle recordings from the few ships that escaped. Council energy weapons hit their ships but cause no damage. Kinetic weapons bounce off like they're hitting solid energy fields." The holographic display showed brief footage from a desperate battle. Council ships fired everything they had at strange black vessels that seemed to absorb the attacks. The enemy ships looked like they were made of liquid metal that flowed and changed shape during combat. "How is that possible?" asked the representative from the Aquatic Federation. "Their technology is completely different from ours," Dr. Nexara explained. "They don't use metal hulls or energy shields. Their ships appear to be made of programmable matter that can adapt to any attack. After our weapons hit them a few times, they become immune to that type of damage." High Commander Zaroth felt his confidence cracking. "What about our new experimental weapons? The quantum disruptors? The plasma cannons?" "We tried everything," Veltar said sadly. "The Hegemony sent their best dreadnought, the eternal glory to engage a small enemy force. It lasted 12 minutes. The enemy ships adapted to every weapon system, and then converted the entire vessel into more enemy units. The council chamber fell silent as the horrible truth sank in. Their most powerful warship, armed with the latest technology, had been defeated and consumed by the enemy in less than 15 minutes. Fleet Admiral Quindle pulled up strategic maps of the galaxy. At their current rate of advance, they'll reach the core council worlds in 6 months, he said grimly. We need new strategies, new weapons, new ideas. What about the Kepler Alliance? Asked one of the younger delegates. They have different technology than the rest of us. Maybe their weapons would work better. The Alliance sent 3 battle groups to engage the enemy last week. High Commander Zaroth reported. None of them returned. We received one brief transmission. The enemy had adapted to Kepler weapons within the first few minutes of combat. Dr. Nexara was still studying the enemy technology readings. There's something else, she said reluctantly. The enemy seems to learn from every engagement. They're not just adapting to our weapons. They're studying our tactics, our ship designs, our communication methods. Each attack is more efficient than the last. The crystal being who led the council struck his staff again. Then we need to find allies. Contact every independent system, every neutral race. We need to combine all our resources against this threat. We've tried, Fleet Admiral Quindle said. Most of the independent systems are too far from the danger zone to care. The ones that are close enough to help are already evacuating or have been consumed. Ambassador Veltar activated another holographic display. This is our current tactical situation, she said. The display showed a map of the galaxy with red markers indicating enemy positions. The red area was growing larger. Every day, consuming system after system in an unstoppable advance. 47 systems lost in the past month, she continued. Over 200 billion lives. The enemy fleet grows stronger with every victory, while our forces get weaker with every defeat. The chamber was filled with the sound of worried voices and desperate planning. Some delegates suggested retreating to the galactic core and building massive defensive installations. Others wanted to evacuate entire populations to distant star systems. None of the ideas seemed likely to work. It was during this chaos that Counselor Ithman of the Kepler Alliance stood up slowly. The feathered alien was old and respected, one of the few voices that still carried weight in the panicked chamber. There is one possibility we haven't discussed, he said quietly. The chamber gradually became quiet as the other delegates noticed he was speaking. There is one race in this galaxy that has consistently surprised us with their ability to find solutions to impossible problems, he continued. One people who have never accepted that any challenge is truly unsolvable. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They all knew what he was going to say, but none of them wanted to hear it. The humans, Ithman said simply. The reaction was immediate and loud. Some delegates shouted that humans were too primitive to help with such an advanced threat. Others argued that humanity had been cast out for good reasons. A few pointed out that humans probably didn't have any technology that could work against an enemy that had defeated the Council's best weapons. But slowly, the shouting died down as the reality of their situation became clear. The Galactic Council, with all their ancient wisdom and advanced technology, was losing badly to an enemy they couldn't understand or defeat. The humans had been isolated in the Outer Rim for 25 years. Ithman continued when the chamber was quiet again. They've had to develop new approaches to survive. They've created technologies we don't understand and solved problems we thought were impossible. High Commander Zaroth's pride warred with his desperation. Even if humans could help, why would they? We cast them out. We told them they were unfit for galactic civilization. Ithman looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had once been so confident in their superiority. "Because that's what humans do," he said. "They help, even when they have every reason not to." The decision to contact humanity was the hardest choice the Galactic Council had ever made. For 3 days, they argued and fought about it. Some members said they would rather die than ask humans for help. Others said pride was a luxury they could no longer afford. In the end, the choice was made for them when 2 more star systems fell to the Devourers in a single day. Ambassador Zelenara of the Vorthan Empire was chosen to lead the diplomatic mission. She was young for a council, diplomat, and known for being more reasonable than her father, Sefkera, who had led the vote to expel humanity 25 years earlier. With her travel doctor Nexara, the Council's top scientist, and Fleet Admiral Quindle, their best military strategist, the journey to human space felt longer than it actually was. None of the 3 aliens had ever been to the Outer Rim territories. They had always considered it a wasteland, too far from civilization to matter. As their small diplomatic ship crossed into human space, they were surprised by what they found. "Look at this," Dr. Nexara said, as she studied her scanner readings. "There are ships everywhere. Trade routes, patrol vessels, civilian traffic. This area is more active than some Council core systems." Captain Eric Stone of the human patrol ship Defender intercepted them at the border. His ship was sleek and fast, built with technology the Council had never seen before. When he contacted their vessel, his voice was polite but cold. "Council vessel, you are entering human space without permission," he said. "State your business." Ambassador Zelenara stepped forward to the communication screen. "I am Ambassador Zelenara of the Galactic Council. We request an audience with your leadership on matters of galactic security." There was a long pause before Captain Stone replied, "Follow my ship. Any deviation from our course or any aggressive action will be met with force." Welcome to human space. The flight to New Horizon took 6 hours. Along the way, the Council delegation saw things that amazed them. Massive mining operations on asteroids that had been considered worthless. Space stations bigger than some Council cities. Ships using propulsion systems that made them move faster than anything in Council space. How did they build all this in just 25 years? Fleet Admiral Quindle wondered aloud. They didn't have Council regulations slowing them down. Dr. Nexara said quietly, "No committees to approve every new idea. No ancient traditions saying things must be done the old way." New Horizon itself was the biggest surprise. The orbital city was enormous, bigger than the Council's capital station. It floated in space without any visible support, held together by artificial gravity that the Council had never been able to create. Governor Patricia Wells met them in the main conference center. She was a strong-looking woman in her 50s, with gray hair and intelligent eyes. Beside her sat Admiral Jake Morrison, now very old but still sharp, and Dr. Lisa Wong, who had become humanity's chief diplomat during the Exile years. 25 years, Dr. Wong said simply as the Council delegation took their seats. 25 years since you told us we were unfit to be part of galactic civilization. Ambassador Zelenara felt shame wash over her. Her father had been one of the loudest voices calling for human expulsion. "We made mistakes," she said carefully. "The situation has changed, and we find ourselves in need of your perspective." Admiral Morrison leaned back in his chair and studied the 3 aliens who had once considered humanity beneath them. "Perspective? Is that what you're calling it now?" The Council delegation had practiced this moment many times during their journey, but it was still difficult. Ambassador Zelenara activated a holographic display showing the Devourer attacks. 3 weeks ago, the enemy consumed the Altair system. 15 billion people died in 4 hours. Our best fleets can't even slow them down. Governor Wells watched the battle footage with professional interest. These ships adapt to your weapons? Within minutes, Dr. Nexara confirmed. Every energy type we've tried becomes useless after the first few hits. Kinetic weapons bounce off like they're hitting solid force fields. Fleet Admiral Quindle pulled up tactical analysis charts. We've lost 18 major battles in a row. Every engagement ends with total defeat and the enemy becoming stronger. At this rate, they'll reach the Council core worlds within 4 months. The human leadership exchanged glances. Finally, Governor Wells spoke. What exactly are you asking for? Your help, Ambassador Zelenara said, the words feeling strange in her mouth. Full military cooperation against a threat to the entire galaxy. And what are you offering in return? Dr. Wang, asked Ambassador Zelenara, took a deep breath. This was the part that hurt the most. Full reinstatement in the Galactic Council. Access to all trade routes and technology exchanges. Formal apologies for past decisions. And leadership positions in the combined defense effort. Leadership positions? Admiral Morrison raised an eyebrow. You want us to lead the defense? Fleet Admiral Quindle looked embarrassed, but continued. Your Admiral Kate Johnson has been reviewing our tactical reports for the past week. She identified 19 critical flaws in our strategy. In 7 days, she saw problems that our best military minds missed in months of fighting. Governor Wells was quiet for a long moment. You're telling us that after 25 years of saying we're too primitive and aggressive, you now want us to save the galaxy? Yes, Ambassador Zelenara said simply. That's exactly what we're asking. Dr. Wang stood up and walked to the window that showed the stars. Do you know what humans have been doing for the past 25 years while you ignored us? Building. Better ships and weapons, apparently, Dr. Nexara said. More than that, Dr. Wang replied. We've been learning. Learning how to survive without Council support. Learning how to solve problems you said were impossible. Learning that sometimes the best solutions come from thinking differently than everyone else. Admiral Morrison pulled up files on his personal tablet. We've been tracking the Devour attacks through our intelligence networks. We know about the adaptive technology, the matter conversion, the hive mind control systems. You've been spying on us? Fleet Admiral Quindle asked. We've been gathering information about threats to galactic security, Admiral Morrison corrected. Unlike the Council, we don't assume that problems will solve themselves if we ignore them long enough. Governor Wells returned to the table. The truth is, we've been preparing for something like this. Not specifically the Devourers, but some kind of external threat that would test everyone's survival. Ambassador Zelenara felt a flicker of hope. Then you'll help us? We need time to discuss this with our full leadership, Governor Wells said. You're asking us to risk human lives to save people who cast us aside when we offered friendship. But you will consider it? Dr. Nexara asked desperately. Dr. Wang looked at the 3 council delegates with something that might have been pity. 25 years ago, you could have had humanity as eager allies. We would have shared everything we had and worked together to make the galaxy better for everyone. And now? Ambassador Zelenara asked quietly. Now you get to find out if humans are as forgiving as we are innovative, Dr. Wang replied. That evening, while the council delegation waited in their guest quarters, the human leadership met in private. The debate was intense, but shorter than the council expected. Unlike the aliens, humans didn't spend weeks arguing about decisions when time was running out. The next morning, Governor Wells called the council delegates back to the conference room. Admiral Kate Johnson was there now, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who commanded respect from every human officer in the room. We've made our decision, Governor Wells announced. Humanity will help defend the galaxy against the Devourers. Then, Relief on the council delegates' faces was obvious. But Admiral Morrison continued, "We do this our way. Human ships, human tactics, human command structure. You want our help? You follow our lead." Fleet Admiral Quindle looked uncomfortable. "The Council has protocols for joint military operations, command structures and chains of authority that have been established for centuries." Admiral Johnson smiled coldly. "Those protocols haven't won you a single battle. If you want to keep using them, you don't need our help." Ambassador Zelenar realized they had no choice. "What do you need from us?" "Everything, Governor Wells." Sighed. "Complete tactical data on the enemy. Full access to your remaining fleet assets. And most importantly, you need to trust us to do what you couldn't." Dr. Nexara leaned forward eagerly. "You have a plan to defeat them?" Admiral Johnson's smile became genuine for the first time. "Lady, we have 17 different plans to defeat them. The question isn't whether we can win. The question is whether you're ready to see humans save the galaxy you tried to keep us out of." The human response came faster than anyone expected. Within 48 hours of agreeing to help, the first elements of the Terran Defense Fleet were moving toward the battle zone. Admiral Kate Johnson commanded the operation from her flagship, the Resilience, a ship that amazed every Council observer who saw it. The Resilience looked nothing like traditional warships. Its hull was smooth and dark, seeming to bend light around it. When it moved, it was almost completely silent, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Council sensors could barely detect it, even when they knew exactly where to look. Captain Ryan Foster commanded the Eclipse-class destroyer Vigilant, part of the escort fleet. His crew had trained for years in unconventional warfare, practicing tactics that Council militaries had never imagined. They were ready for a fight unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The first test came in the Kepler system, where a small devourer force had been attacking shipping lanes for weeks. Council fleets had tried 3 times to drive them away, and failed each time. Now it was humanity's turn to prove their worth. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy them directly," Admiral Johnson told her mixed human-alien command staff over the communication network. "We're going to confuse their collective intelligence, break their coordination, then exploit the chaos." Commander Nick Taylor led a squadron of human fighters equipped with quantum scramblers, devices that Council scientists didn't even understand. The fighters were tiny compared to Devourer ships, but they carried weapons specifically designed to disrupt the enemy's hive mind communication. "All units, begin Operation Silence," Admiral Johnson ordered. The battle began unlike any previous. Engagement. Instead of charging directly at the enemy, human ships spread out in a complex pattern around the Devourer fleet. The quantum scramblers activated simultaneously, sending waves of interference through space that disrupted the enemy's ability to share information. For the first time since the war began, Devourer ships began acting confused. Their perfect coordination broke down as individual vessels lost contact with the collective mind. Some ships stopped moving entirely. Others began attacking each other by mistake. "It's working," reported Dr. Rachel Adams from the science station. Aboard the Resilience, their communication network is fragmenting. Each ship is trying to make decisions independently. Captain Foster's destroyer moved in for the kill. The Vigilance weapons were unlike anything Council forces used. Instead of trying to overpower the enemy's adaptive defenses, they constantly changed frequency and attack patterns. The Devourer ships couldn't adapt fast enough to keep up. "Target their coordination nodes," Admiral Johnson commanded. "Don't try to destroy the ships. Destroy their ability to work together." The battle lasted only 30 minutes. When it was over, the entire Devourer force had been either destroyed or captured. For the first time in months, Council forces had achieved total victory against the enemy. More importantly, they had done it without losing a single ship, News of the victory spread through Council space faster than light. Species that had written off humanity as primitive savages suddenly saw them in a completely different way. Ambassador Zethkara himself issued a public statement praising human tactical genius. But Admiral Johnson wasn't satisfied with one victory. Her analysis of captured Devourer technology had revealed something that Council scientists had missed completely. The enemy wasn't originally from this galaxy at all. They're refugees, she explained to an emergency council session held aboard her flagship. Their home universe is collapsing, dying from some kind of cosmic decay. They came here looking for resources to build survival ships. Dr. Frank Miller, humanity's chief scientist for alien contact, presented evidence that shocked the Council. Delegates, the Devourers aren't evil monsters. They're desperate survivors trying to save their entire species from extinction. Fleet Admiral Quindle found this hard to believe. But they've killed hundreds of billions of people. They've destroyed entire star systems. Because they didn't know how to communicate with us, Dr. Miller explained. Their minds work so differently from ours that they probably didn't even realize we were intelligent life forms. To them, we might have seemed like bacteria or insects. Admiral Johnson pulled up tactical displays showing Devourer fleet movements. Look at their targets. They've been going after systems with high mineral content and low population density. They're trying to get resources while avoiding people, but they're not very good at it. This revelation changed everything. Instead of planning more battles, the humans proposed something that had never been tried before: communication with the enemy. It was a typically human solution. Talk first, fight only if talking failed. The attempt was made in the neutral system of Crossroads, where both fleets met under a temporary ceasefire. Admiral Johnson led a joint Human Council delegation aboard a specially modified ship equipped with every type of communication device known to galactic science. The first breakthrough came when Dr. Miller realized that the Devourers communicated through quantum fluctuations in space itself. Using human quantum tunnel technology, the scientists were able to create a basic translation system. The first message from the Devourer Collective was simple but heartbreaking. Home dying. Must survive. Sorry for harm. Did not know you think, Captain. Sandra Lee, one of humanity's best diplomats, took charge of the negotiations. We understand your situation, she transmitted back. We want to help you survive without destroying our homes. What followed were the most complex negotiations in galactic history. The Devourers explained that their universe was being consumed by something they called the Great Darkness. They had escaped through a one-way portal and were trying to gather enough resources to build generation ships for their entire species. We can help you, Dr. Miller proposed. There are dead star systems throughout the galaxy, systems where the stars have burned out and no life exists. You can harvest those for resources without harming anyone. The negotiations took weeks, but eventually an agreement was reached. The Devourers would be allowed to harvest resources from dead systems and stellar waste. In exchange, they would stop attacking inhabited worlds and would share their advanced matter conversion technology. Ambassador Carl Martinez, humanity's lead negotiator, worked with Council diplomats to create a treaty that satisfied everyone. The Devourer Accords became the most important document in galactic history, establishing the first peaceful contact with a truly alien intelligence. But the real changes came after the crisis ended. The Galactic Council underwent massive reforms, abandoning many of their ancient traditions in favor of more flexible approaches. Humanity not only regained their seat, but was granted permanent positions on all major committees. The Council's rigid hierarchy gave way to a system that valued innovation and fresh thinking over age and tradition. Young species were welcomed as equals, and diversity became seen as a strength rather than a problem. Admiral Morrison, now very old but still sharp, gave his final public speech before retirement. 25 years ago, you thought we were too young and reckless to be trusted with galactic responsibility. You were probably right. But sometimes the galaxy needs young eyes to see solutions that old wisdom has overlooked. The changes weren't just political. Human technology began spreading throughout council space, making life better for everyone. Quantum tunnel drives reduced travel time between stars from weeks to hours. Human medical advances extended lifespans for dozens of species. Agricultural techniques ended food shortages on hundreds of worlds. Captain Sophie Miller's merchant fleet became the backbone of a new trade network that connected the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Dr. Grace Chun's gravity technology made it possible to build cities in space where none had existed before. General Rob Sullivan's military innovations made the galaxy safer for everyone. But perhaps the most important change was in how different species viewed each other. The human example had shown that being different wasn't something to fear. It was something to celebrate and learn from. Dr. Lisa Wang, now the Council's Secretary General, often reflected on how much had changed. "We used to think that wisdom came only with age," she said during her inauguration speech. "Now we understand that wisdom comes from bringing together many different perspectives and being willing to try new approaches." The Devourers, now called the Wanderer Collective, became valued members of galactic society. Their unique perspective on survival and adaptation helped solve problems that had puzzled other species for centuries. Children throughout the galaxy learned their story as an example of how enemies could become friends through understanding and communication. Years later, veterans of the crisis would smile when they remembered how the Council had pushed humanity away, never imagining they would one day beg for their return. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the danger of judging others too quickly and the value of giving everyone a chance to contribute. Humanity had turned their greatest rejection into their greatest triumph, not through conquest or revenge, but by showing that even the most impossible problems could be solved when people worked together with open minds and generous hearts.